our next part of entrepreneurial leadership. If you think about the first pieces that we've done, we covered Simon Sinek's talk, where he was discussing some traits of great leaders and some things that they have going for them. Excuse me for a minute, we're getting a little Zoom problem here as I'm doing some recording, so I'll get it worked out in a second. That should work. So what we talked about first was Simon Sinek had gone in and given us a great talk on from TED, his TED talk. And if that didn't tug at your heartstrings, I'm not sure much will, but it did kind of outline for you how you have to create an environment and a culture. And that's part of entrepreneurial leadership. And then the next part we covered from entrepreneurial leadership was kind of some things about yourself. You had to know yourself. You had to be able to set a vision for your business. You had to be able to talk to your employees about where your company was going and what you were trying to get done. And you had to be able to communicate that very clearly. And so we talked about that. So what we're going to go over now is, normally this is really a fun interactive class where I run around the room and I ask people different kind of leadership styles and talk to me about the worst leader you've had and the best leader you've had. And we have all these examples and people are like, man, I had this boss who was an absolute nightmare. All he did was yell at me. And I had another person that would say, I had the greatest boss ever. He was encouraging and supportive and understood my goals and objectives and what I was trying to get accomplished. But since we can't do that because we're not in the classroom, I've instead gone and tried to put together a little bit of a fun type of thing that kind of breaks out some different leadership styles. And we're using some animated characters to try to help us get aware of these. And hopefully you will understand through this exercise what type of style you might have as a primary leadership style, and also recognize different leadership styles in those around you. So let's take a look. So there's a thought leader. There's a social leader. We're going to go through each one of these in depth. There's a process leader. There's a data leader. There's a results leader. And there's a people leader. And these are all different types of leaders. And Hogan Leadership Focuses kind of helped develop these leadership styles. And I've used this stuff for them. You can see I'm giving them credit for it down at the bottom. But this actually fits really well. It's a good way to talk about different types of leadership styles if we're not actually in the same classroom. So let's go through some of these, see if you fit each one of these, kind of as you're paying attention to this, be like, oh, that kind of represents me, or that kind of represents me. Because at the end of this, you are going to have a little assignment where you're going to have to send in to Blackboard, which one of these styles you think fits you the best. So let's start with the thought leader. A thought leader is a visionary leader, right? There's someone who's very visionary. Steve Jobs might maybe be here in this thought leader category. And their mantra, if they had like a personal saying, they'd always be running around saying, there's a better way, there's a better way, there's a better way. And I know people like this, people who when you're talking to, you're like, hey, this is how we could. And they're always like, oh, there's got to be a better way than that to do it. So that's kind of this personal mantra of there's a better way. One of the things you're doing if you're a visionary leader is you're leading from way outside the box. I mean, way outside the box. Like there's a box and then there's you like 600 miles away. And you're like, I can't believe all those people are running around inside that box when there's all these better ways to do things. You think that the most mundane problems have creative solutions. What does that mean? No matter what the problem is, you're thinking there's got to be a better way to do that. Everything from tying your shoe to how can we throw out trash to I can't believe that's the only way to make coffee. I mean, you're constantly thinking about there's got to be a better way to do this. I can't believe we have to do this. I mean, I think about this. I'm not really probably primarily a visionary leader, but I think about this a lot in some mundane tasks, simple things like, I can't believe I have to shave every day. Like, this is ridiculous. And there's got to be a better way than that. Or charging of all my different devices. I need one charger for my watch and another charger for my phone, and then that charger doesn't work with the phone piece that I have because I don't have the same brand. And you're thinking there's got to be a better way. And someone who was thinking like that came up with like the charge pad, right? You just lay all your stuff down on one pad and they all charge wirelessly, so you don't have to plug wires into everything. There was some visionary leader that was thinking about that and who came up with that as a solution. You push your team to choose the road less traveled. Because you're thinking there has to be a better way, you're not actually wanting to go the way everyone else is going. Average is not what you're after. You're not like, well, everyone else does it that way, let's do it that way too. Because remember, you're thinking outside the box. So you're going to push your team to say, hey, don't do it the way everyone else does. Let's try to come up with a better way, a different way, something that will make us differentiated from our competitors out there, and you're pushing your team to do that. And then you typically will reward unorthodox ideas and risk-taking. Because you want people operating outside of the box, to operate outside of the box, you're going to have to take some risks. And you would reward people for taking those risks, especially if the idea works out. But you're certainly not going to punish them if it doesn't, because you're wanting them to be trying different things and be thinking different ways. You believe there's no growth without failure. Because you're wanting your people outside the box, we just talked about this, you know certain things will fail. There's no chance that you can say to your staff, be outside the box thinkers, be that way all the time, and at the same time then punish them for failing. And so you know that the growth comes because you fail. As you fail 3, 4, 5 times, then you land on the solution that actually works. This always makes me think of a quote I'd read once, and I read it in the book, and it was, I wish I remembered the person to attribute it to, but he said, 1 out of 10 businesses make it, 9 out of 10 fail. So I came up with a surefire way to succeed. I'm going to start 10 businesses, because then he knew we would have one that succeeded. And that's kind of what this visionary leader's doing. They're okay with failure. And you're tolerant and encouraging of unconventional habits and workflows. If you actually think about these all together, it makes a lot of sense, because you're wanting people to take risks, you're wanting them to think outside the box. Well, if you're asking them to do those things from a behaviors perspective, why would you turn around and say, but I expect you to be in the office from 9 to 5? Oh, by the way, at 12 o'clock, you get 35 minutes for lunch, and that's exactly what you get. You get 1 break in the morning and 1 break in the afternoon. That's an inside the box structure. You're okay with outside the box structures, so you're tolerant and encouraging of unconventional habits and workflows. So if this might be you, make a note off to the side. Maybe I'm a visionary leader, and you can answer some questions at the end. Then there's these social leaders, and all of us know social leaders. They're kind of this all aboard mantra. It's, hey, everybody can get on the team. There's no reason everybody can't join. And kind of their personal statement is, hey, can't we have this meeting during happy hour? Like, why do we have to be sitting in the office at 4 o'clock for this meeting? Isn't there a way we can kind of get to the bar, do this around the table, everybody has a drink in their hand, and make this a little bit more fun and exciting? And that's kind of their personal mantra. You tend to view your employees more as equals, because you have this all aboard mentality where I want everyone on the train and everyone pulling, the same direction. You tend to view your employees more as equals. Your desk is typically going to be out on the floor with your team because you view them as equals. You're just in the mix with them. You're going to be working with them to help accomplish the goals and objectives of your firm. You're typically going to not want to be called Mr. Wilbur. You're going to say, hey, man, my name's Steve. Call me Steve. You're going to blend in with everybody else. You are just one of the crew. You are doing and contributing wherever you can to help the firm. Because you treat your employees more like equals, you tend to run your team more like a democracy. Okay, everybody, we have a business problem. We have to figure out how to deliver this by tomorrow at 6 o'clock. What do we think our plan could be? And you take input from everybody. Everybody kind of gets a vote, and then based on that vote, you make a decision on what you guys are going to do. So because of that, you have the decisions made by the team as you're running it like a democracy and getting their input. Because you're very open this way, though, one of the massive advantages of being a social leader is your employees really trust you, because they feel like you're in the boat with them. You're not asking them to do things that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself, that you are listening to them. Remember, we talked back in the last module about listening is actually a really important trait as a leader, as an entrepreneurial leader. And so because you're doing that, your openness actually earns trust among your employees. Then there's a process leader. Process leaders are very step-driven people, as you can tell by our little animated character in the corner. Process leaders. You're kind of an all trains arrive on time person. Better safe than sorry, that's kind of your mantra. If we have a process, we won't mess up. That's how kind of process leaders think. Do everything according to the process, and we will have a repeatable result that will make us successful. That is literally how process leaders are thinking. Structure and order create success. If you think about process leaders, it's very much going to make sense in a manufacturing environment, correct? Because you have to create the same product time after time after time after time. And so these types of process leaders do well in manufacturing environments, or do well where there is a business that really needs a lot of process so that we can create the same experience every time for our customers. You believe that structure in order to create success. You know what to expect. People know what to expect when they're around you. When they ask you a question, they're not expecting you to be like thinking way outside the box or thinking, hey, let's go to the bar and do this. They're going to literally wait for you to say something like, well, let's see what our process says we should be doing, or what process do we have in place that helps us solve that problem, or have we created a process for this problem? Have we had this problem before? No, let's create a process for this problem so the next time it comes up, we know how to solve it. That's kind of this whole process leader approach. Because of that, you take a disciplined approach to managing your team. If you're process driven, then management of employees in your mind is very process driven also. I know we sit down at the beginning of the year and we establish our goals. We mutually agree on those goals. We're going to sit down monthly and track progress towards those goals. Almost all process leaders that work this way are going to have some sort of template that they're filling out as the year goes on. Yep, check that block, you did well. Check that block, you did well. Ooh, can't check that block. We haven't gotten that goal or objective accomplished yet. So because you take such a process view on things, you also take that same process view to managing your team. And you really have this expectation of people because you kind of think of people as part of this whole process. So because of that, when someone says they're going to do something by a certain time, you just expect it to be done that way because you think everything's a process. So when somebody says, no problem, ma'am, or no problem, sir, if they're your boss, I will have, to the boss, I will have coffee on your desk at 9. You expect coffee on your desk at 9. If they say, I will have that delivered to the client by 10, you expect them to have that delivered to the client by 10 because it's just a process. And so because of that, you're not as flexible to change. You're not as flexible to change. But right now, we're just talking about all the good things that come out and kind of what these traits are. And because you like process, you have very little patience for people who are like, well, why do we have to do it that way? What if we try it like this? No, see, that's more the visionary leader person, the outside the box guy. He likes people that are talking that way. Process leaders do not like that. They like people who are very much more like, yes, I understand the process, step 1, step 2, step 3, and that's what we're going to go do. You don't have patience for people who want to shake things up to see what happens. So some of you that think very process driven, maybe this is the type of leader that you primarily are. Then we have data leaders, and this will not be a surprise. Data leaders are all about painting by the numbers. Human beings are illogical. That's what they think. So why would we let them think? Human beings have emotions, and emotions impact decisions. Numbers do not have emotions. Numbers are numbers. Numbers will tell us what to do. We buy when the numbers say to buy. We sell when the numbers say to sell. It's all about the numbers. We hire another employee because the numbers say at this time we can't support our clients unless we have another employee on board. You try to remove as much emotion out of your management style as possible if you tend to be more of a data leader. It's because you have this high belief in numbers. That's what we're talking about. There's this strength in numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers are logical. Almost every decision you're going to make, it has some sort of spreadsheet attached where you have done some sort of analysis and you've said, I need to look at expanding the production line. Well, let me put my spreadsheet together that will tell me how much more sales do we need to support it? How much more inventory would I need to bring on board to actually be able to then feed that production line? It's all going to be about a spreadsheet. And then at the end of that spreadsheet will be some number that says, yes, we're going to make money with this. No, we're not. Your decision, I promise you, if you're a data leader, will have a spreadsheet. Because of that, you tend to not make decisions super quick. You tend to spend hours looking at data and looking at more data and looking at more data before you make a decision. You just tend to say, I don't know. I know human beings are highly illogical. So why would I make a fast decision? Let me take time. Let me look at the data. Let me see if I can look at the data again a different way. What if I this? What if I that with the numbers? And so you spend a lot of time going back through your numbers before you decide to make a decision. You see work kind of where top performers are just rewarded, and you kind of cut loose the people that are dragging the team down. I mean, it's all about numbers. Have you hit your numbers? Yes, great. You're doing well. I'm going to give you a reward. You haven't hit your numbers? So sorry, Charlie. No place for you here on the team. You don't have a whole lot of room for people who can't do what the numbers are saying they should do. If each person on your team is supposed to contribute $100 of gross profit towards the firm and somebody contributes 150, you like that and you're going to give them a reward as a top performer. But the person who's only contributing 50, you're probably cutting him loose because you absolutely expect, the numbers say, a person in this role should be able to contribute $100 of gross profit. And so when they're not, it's time to move them on down the road. And because of that, your performance reviews are based on metrics and quantifiable goals. And we were just talking about that. What was your goal for gross profit? Did you hit it? Did you not? And if you didn't, how much did you miss by? Is it a small percentage, a large percentage? And you will probably have already created in a chart, or at minimum, a set of notes where you're like, at 90%, I'll keep him for another quarter. At 85, I'll keep him for a month and see if he's improving. At 80% of his number, he's just gone. Because you're going to be doing performance reviews based on metrics and quantifiable goals. Everything will be about quantifiable goals. So you will have a lot of numbers here. Okay, so if you represent this type of person, maybe you're a data leader. Then you have these results leaders. Results leaders are unstoppable. You win, win, win. I mean, you win, like you like to win. You like to win a lot. Like all you can think about is winning. It doesn't matter if you're playing a game with your 7-year-old cousin and it shoots and ladders, your job is to crush them and win. That is how you think. Your personal mantra, second place is the first loser. I mean, there is no second place because you just really are a loser. Maybe not as big of a loser, but you are still a loser. That is literally how you think. So what are some characteristics about these people? We just talked about this a little bit. You love to win. I mean, you love it. You can't help it. When you're winning, you just get this great feeling inside. It gives you a charge. It's just all about, that's it. I'm the best. We're on top. I'm number one. You surround yourself with all-stars because you love to win. You only want to be around other people who love to win. You don't want to hang around with a bunch of people who are okay being mediocre players. Well, yeah, I know our season this year, maybe we'll be lucky to, have 20 wins and 20 losses. We're okay with that. That's not the type of team you want to be on. You want to be on that team that's saying, forget that. If we have 40 games, we want to win 38 of them. We're okay losing 2 maybe because everybody has an off day. But other than that, we expect to win. That's the type of team you want to be on. And that's who, if you are this leader, you will surround yourself with. Because of that, you have extremely high expectations of what you expect out of your people. I mean, you expect them to play like champions every day. You expect them to show up to the office, do their job, hit it out of the park. You don't have a whole lot of room for people who are like, well, my son was sick today, and so I'm kind of coming to work late. I don't think I'm going to have that great of a day. My wife yelled at me too, and I've got all these other problems going on. That's not how you roll. You're like, you leave that at the door, and we expect you to play like a champion every day when you show up. The other thing is you're not afraid to give an impassive speech or throw a chair onto the court to get your team on track. I mean, if they're not doing what you think they need to do, you will absolutely just scream, holler, throw a fit, give a speech, do whatever it takes to get them moving. And I know you guys have all seen this before when you look at things like coaches' speeches either at halftime or for a movie. And you've seen where a coach is giving just this great speech trying to get his team motivated so that they can go out and do great things. You're going to cut people who can't hold their own. If somebody can't perform, if somebody can't play, you're just letting them go. I mean, they're just not on the team anymore, and that's the way it goes. If you can't play with us at our level and you're not an all-star, and I figure it out about you, and you're a results leader type person, they're gone. You just cut them. Okay, then we have our people leader. People leaders are a little bit different than results leaders because people leaders are going to radiate this warmth and compassion. Why can't we all just get along? How come we all can't, be on the same team? Why do we have to argue? Why is there all this fighting? That's kind of how people leaders operate. You try to keep your office filled with like warm fuzzies. Hey, you're the person who's constantly bringing in breakfast and making sure that everybody's got comfortable things on their desk, and they probably get to decorate their office and their workspace any way they want. Your goal is to make work as comfortable as possible and as friendly and easy. And you just want everybody getting along. You kind of think of the people you work with more as friends before employees or colleagues. You tend to kind of let this boss friend relationship get all interwoven. It becomes a little bit mushy and gets all together. You don't necessarily love being the boss. You are the boss, but it's just kind of the way it's worked out. I mean, it's your company, but you kind of tend to think of everybody as friends. Because of that, you want the team making the hard decisions. Okay, guys, we have this coronavirus thing and we're probably going to have to lay off some people or do something to like help our revenue numbers, because I mean, we just can't support all of this overhead and all of this staff. I mean, what do you guys think we should do? That's the approach of a people leader, rather than someone who's going to walk in and say, hey guys, unfortunately right now the business has slowed down and it's stopped, and because of that I'm going to have to furlough you guys for a month. Instead, this people leader is trying to get the team almost to make that hard decision. Well, maybe we should all take vacation, maybe we should all get furloughed. He or she, if they're a people leader, do not want to drive a decision down from the top. They're wanting that team involved in making it. Because your kind of mentality as a people leader is warmth and compassion, you really go out of your way to get along with everyone and make sure your employees feel valued. You're recognizing things that they do well. By the way, this is a great strength of people leaders, because when you're doing this, people on your team feel really valued. I mean, they just feel really valued because you're constantly telling them how good of a job they're doing. You're recognizing all of the things they're doing well. You're including them in tough decisions. So employees are like, man, I don't just work there. I'm like part of the leadership team. I feel like I have a lot in a role and a say and a voice. And that's a powerful thing when you can get that coming out of your employees. But because you like warmth and compassion, boy, you don't like conflict. That's the other side of the coin. And so because of that, you avoid conflict like the plague. And so whenever there's conflict inside of the organization, you're actually going to try to do your best to make sure like everyone walks away from it feeling like not too bad. So, you've got two employees and they're really conflicting with each other. You're going to sit them down and you're going to try to talk to them and you're going to try to get them. But John, you need to recognize the strengths in Maria. And Maria, you need to recognize the strengths in John. And while he's really hard to deal with on, inventory, he's great helping you figure out how to navigate the warehouse. And, Maria, while, you don't like that about John, remember, you have these things that, necessarily aren't great either, but look at all the wonderful things you do. John, have you recognized all the wonderful things Maria does? Your goal is to get everyone to walk away not feeling like they've been harmed or hurt. You really do have this, why can't we all just get along mentality. So see if that fits you. So those are the styles. Most people have a dominant style. They have one style that is the primary style that they exhibit. Your style influences your actions. If you're a results leader, you're probably coming in rah, rah, rah every day and you're working, to be the top performer even among your team. If you're, can't we all get along? Can't we just all be on, the same team? Then the actions that you're doing there is you're trying to create a really warm and loving environment. If you're a social leader, your actions are going to be, how do I set up social engagements? How do I take clients out? Can I take them to lunch? Can I take them to ball games? So your actions are very much influenced by your style. And then your style impacts how you think of others. All of us have different styles, leadership styles. We tend to think of others who aren't like us as somehow broken, or like, how come they're not thinking like I'm thinking? So the key in this is that you have to first recognize what type of leader you are, and then try to make sure you understand everybody isn't the same as me. And really, other traits have some strengths that might actually help me be better. And so if you are a results leader, maybe picking up a little warm fuzzy wouldn't be bad to just help the team feel a little more valued. If you're a social leader, maybe every now and then putting a little process in place to help the organization run a little smoother would not necessarily be bad. So try to find some traits and other styles to implement that will help your organization or help you succeed in whatever you're trying to accomplish. The mix works great. So to excel, you have to be a mix. That being said, your dominant style under stress will always come out. it typically always comes out. If you're a results leader and there's a stressful situation, I promise a rah-rah speech is not very far, away from you. It's coming next. So you want to make sure that you have a mix, but recognize that your dominant style is your dominant style, and it will almost always be the thing that primarily influences your actions. Okay, so now there's a little class assignment. I just want you to get up on Blackboard and say, you're going to answer the question, what type do you think you are? And you just submit that dominant type on Blackboard for the assignment leadership 2. What's next? And I'll have a Blackboard assignment up there on that. We got one more class as part of Thursday's class, which I'll be going over here in just a few minutes. So I look forward to talking with you guys again. Thanks so much.